You're watching Cable 2.
Good evening and welcome to the May 28th, 2019 Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education meeting. I am Shay Woodbury, Board Chair, and I appreciate your attendance. And also, I say good evening to our viewers on Cable 2. Will you please rise as we start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing as we do our invocation given by Board Member Lyda Calvert-Hayes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Thank you for our community, staff, teachers who are here tonight, for our Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools, for our kids, and everyone that's interested in us doing our best for our school system. Let our meeting be productive and lead us, our board, to make very good decisions. Amen.
Thank you. Before our first order of business tonight, the board and our community are sad to know that one of our Winston-Salem Forsyth County school educators passed away untimely after an accident over the holiday weekend. Please keep our employees and their family members in your prayers. In the same spirit, the board recognizes, of course, the U.S. military servicemen and women who have put their life on the line while serving U.S. Armed Forces, and we are especially grateful of the students of Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools who will serve our country after graduation. Our first order of business tonight is the agenda review. Is there a motion to pass the agenda or affirm the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or question? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So tonight we have quite a few special recognitions, and we are very grateful to be able to recognize the talent and skills of our students and employees. Our first recognition is for the Career Technical Student Organization State Champions, and Ms. Shirley Bynum will introduce these recognitions. Well, maybe not Shirley Bynum.
No, we pulled one on you. I'm Bruce Sherman,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sherman.
and Shirley's over there in the wings trying to save her voice for our little presentation later. So, Chairman Woodbury, Dr. Simonton, members of the board, it is always a pleasure to be here at this time of the year to recognize our students who have excelled in their career and technical student organizations. I am going to call the advisors forward and let them introduce their students. We'll fill up the stage, and then we'll have that group turn around and shake hands if that's all right with you all. And we'll begin with Mr. Tim Sparks, the advisor for DECA at West Forsyth, to recognize his student.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman, members of the board. My state champion was in apparel and accessories at the state level from West Forsyth, Miss Emma Blanks.
Don't knock that over. And we also would like to recognize parents who might be in the audience. If you'd like to stand and be recognized. And administrators. I see Mr. Mack in the back there from West Forsyth. Thank you. Our next group is family, I always get this messed up, Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. Miss Jenny Watson, who is the advisor at Southeast, but she's also going to pinch hit for me tonight for a couple other advisors who couldn't be with us.
First of all, I am the current North Carolina FCCLA board chair, and I want to do one more recognition that we forgot to put on there. And Dr. Shirley Bonham was awarded in April the State Administrator of the Year from FCCLA. So if she'll come out just for a second. So with my board chair hat, I wanted to congratulate her from North Carolina FCCLA, and for my WSFCS hat, we'll put that back on. And I want to first recognize the students from Southeast Middle School. So Jaya Patel. You can come on over and we'll shake hands in a second. And then I also want to recognize our North Carolina FCCLA State Vice President of Community Service, Angela Vidal. She'll be leaving Southeast for Atkins very soon. And I have a few of my Jaguars who have grown eagle wings and are now at East Forsyth, and I want to recognize them. So Taylor Beacom, Carrie Weddle, and Reagan Rons. And from the Career Center, Amani King.
We have one more FCCLA group from Reagan High School. Miss Michelle Derwin is the advisor.
Good evening. Representing Reagan High School in Anaheim, California will be Emily Feria, first place, gold, fashion construction. Lorelei Gardner, first place, gold, sports nutrition. Both occupational, by the way. Paisley Hodge, first place, gold, Illustrated Talk Junior. Guzine Ketagos, first place, gold, Advocacy Senior. And finally, Eleanor Saunders, first place, gold, for fashion design, occupational.
Tim, y'all want to shake hands? Just turn right around here. There you go. Okay, honey, it's time. Go right here. In our next group, I'd like to just say one thing before I call Lonnie up here from Atkins, is in the agenda, Marissa Wise is listed as an Atkins student. She's actually an East Forsyth student, and East is having their awards night tonight, so that's why they're not here. But I did want to make mention that Marissa is an East Forsyth Eagle. So Lonnie, if you'll come on, Lonnie Clark is our advisor at Atkins High School for Health Occupation Students of America, now known as HOSA.
Good evening, and I'd like to congratulate our biomedical debate first place winners for the state, Adam Ernst. Rohan Kapalashwari. And Noah Barton could not be with us tonight.
And switching gears slightly, our Skills USA is a student organization that represents the widest range of different areas, mostly known for the trades areas. In this particular case tonight, I believe it's photography. I'd like to call Kate Castleberry, the advisor, up from the Career Center.
I'm pleased to recognize Morgan Chrysler for first place in photography.
And the next group is a branch of Technology Student Association, which we call TSA. This group teams test of engineering, aptitude, mathematics, and science. It's a relatively new competition, and we had some students from Walkertown Middle School compete in that this year. Unfortunately, Charlotte Waddell, their advisor, is at home recuperating from surgery, so Scott Muncie, principal at Walkertown, is going to recognize their student.
Good evening, Walkertown Middle School would like to recognize Lucas Arce as part of our teams for Walkertown Middle School.
And finally, from Atkins High School, we have Calvin Strawn and Barry Cochran, advisors for our TSA chapter at Atkins.
Mr. Sherman, Mr. Simonton, Board, today I'd like to bring before you Daniela Andreas and Sasha Segar. They were first place winners at the TSA States in debating tech. And we've got Brianna Odom. She received a special scholarship from TSA. And Brianna is a senior. She'll be attending North Carolina A&T State University. I'm proud of that because I'm an Aggie.
And then we have Troy Boland and Suraj Upadhyay. They both placed gold, first place in state competition in engineering animatronics.
Start the line.
I'm not sure if we had the parents or guardians to stand for these students.
Thank
If we
you.
can.
Yes, if the parents and guardians of any of these students, please stand and be recognized as well. These kids have a lot. Thank you. started that off pretty good, and then I get going.
I forget sometimes too,
Thank
so.
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to recognize these students. As was mentioned earlier, most of these first place winners will be going on to national competition, which begins the week after school's out and runs pretty much through the first week in July at various places everywhere from Orlando to Anaheim. That's our farthest reach this year. We have a big group going to Anaheim. So we hope to have some of them back as national winners in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have Carol Chandler to recognize the 2019 Poet Laureate.
Good evening. I'm Carol Chandler, representing Forsyth Education Partnership. I've already put on the table a copy of our 2019 Fresh Voices Rising chapbook. Forsyth Education Partnership is very proud to present Mariana Flores, a rising senior from Atkins. She is a prolific poet and poetry performer with many accomplishments, including being the Poet Laureate winner 2018 and 2019. She is wonderful, and she is going to present her poet. This is 2019.
Hello. I will be reciting my poem, I Am Poetry. Thank you. I am poetry. My back is the spine, my arms turn into the cover, my fingers smooth into pages, the prints printed on my thumbs bleed words. I am a poem, every single part of me. I am all the thoughts the human race has ever had. I am the mother, I am the dad. When you want a piece of poetry to feed your mind, I'll peel the layers off my thumb until they form sentences. I'll bend my fingers back until they turn into stanzas. I'll snap my arms crooked till they cry out titles. I'll arch my back and screech as they brand me with the name of my owner. I am a haiku, the original OG. You can't handle me. I am a sonnet betrothed to Shakespeare like a kid learning his alphabet and he gets stuck on G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. My couplets are more star-crossed than Romeo and Juliet could ever be. I am T.S. Eliot, here to sing you love songs. Don't you cast me to the wasteland. I am Maya Angelou, about to free the bird from its cage, and still I rise. I am Emily Dickinson, finally stopping for death. You can't kill me. I am living, breathing poetry. My veins bleed poetry. Fear this blood. My eyes cry poetry. See these words. My shampoo brand is poetry. Feel these curls. Rise, stand, and take up the pen. Poetry is our oxygen. Let us all breathe it in. Our words will save this nation. From a simple sentence to a conversation. We are poetry. We will change the world. You are poetry. You can save the world. I am poetry. Use me to save this world. And when I finally die, I'll be reincarnated into a tree. I'll be turned into pages for the next poets to use. And when they do, I'll be free. Thank you.
If the parent or guardian of Mariana Flores is here, please stand so we can recognize you as well. Next, Joe Childers will recognize several recognitions: the Art Showcase Printmaking State Champion, the State Quill Champion Argumentative Writing, and the Cyber Patriot State Champion.
Good evening, Dr. Symington, Chair Woodbury, board members. The NCASA Art Showcase competition at Atkins is coached by art teacher Janet Blakely, who could not be with us this evening. Atkins has always done well in Art Showcase, even winning the state championship last year. This contest has 8 different media categories, everything from painting to sculpture. And this year, the printmaking category was submitted by Katie Hill Sturkey. Her print, based on the theme of selfie, no filter, was one of the most powerful works in the entire show and won its category and earned her a state individual title in Art Showcase. Katie. Our quill team is coached by Scott Plaster, and he's going to tell us about the competition and our state champion.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The Quill is an on-demand writing competition created and hosted by NCSA with 4 students from each school, each writing to a different writing prompt. Atkins has always done well in the Quill, winning the state championship once and also finishing as state champion runner-up another year. I've had the pleasure of coaching 7 individual state champions, and this year is no exception. Junior Bree Thompson won her argument category this year in this very competitive contest. One of her phrases to live by that she learned from her father is, "Talk less, say more," which is perfectly fitting for her in the Quill. Bree did all of her talking with her written words and came home with the state title. Congratulations, Bree Thompson. Please come forward.
This is the second year in a row that Atkins Cyber Patriot team has won the state championship. Scott Plaster also coaches that team and will now tell us more.
Hello again. With nearly 6,000 teams competing nationwide, the Cyber Patriot competition is one of the toughest, most technical challenges in all of high school scholastics. Atkins won the state championship last year, but then graduated 3 seniors. So not settling for a building year, team captain Caleb Rollins and I began working even before that year was over, building a new team and increasing our skills base. So not only did the team not drop in performance this year, but actually improved, winning the first ever repeat team state championship in Atkins school history. And we have 3 of those team members with us here tonight: Caleb Rollins, Ethan Flowers, and Janie Venkat. The other 2 couldn't be here tonight.
If the parents and guardians of these students could stand so we could also recognize you, that would be awesome. The next recognition comes from Leon Pfeiffer. He will recognize the North Carolina ASA Scholastic Cup champions and also the 2019 North Carolina ASA Principal of the Year.
So thank you, board members, for inviting me to be here today. Each year, the North Carolina Association for Scholastic Activities recognizes the best schools in North Carolina. There are different ways to do this, but we believe the best way to recognize the best schools in North Carolina is based on competition. So schools compete in all of the major scholastic competitions in North Carolina. For competing and participating, they earn points in these scholastic competitions. During the year, we accumulate the points, and at the year we add up the points, and we recognize the best schools in North Carolina. This year, Simon G. Atkins High School earned 664 Scholastic Cup points. And to put that in perspective, the second place school, Ardrey Kell in Charlotte, earned 325. The third place school, Myers Park High School in Charlotte, earned 319. So Atkins High School, as the first place school, earned more points than the second place and the third place high schools combined. So the school has dedication like no other school does in support of scholastic activities and competitions. A few weeks ago, we presented the NCASA Scholastic Cup to Atkins High School at their awards banquet, but I want to recognize them today. Here today is Scholastic Director Scott Plaster and Principal Joe Childers.
If their parents or guardians are here, probably staff members, thank you. Our next recognition will come from Daniel Bryant for the FAPA scholarship recipients.
I do have one more recognition.
Okay, sorry.
So each year, NCASA recognizes outstanding students and educators for their support and performance in scholastic activities. We recognize these based on nominations and information we get from other coaches and schools, and we do want to make a recognition today. I'm going to read the nomination that we received. When I first started at Haynes Magnet School, I was asked to start our competition with NCASA. My principal asked me to get this going and start finding students that would enjoy these events. We're already competing in a couple of events, but not with the entire cup competition. In all honesty, I thought she was a little crazy with this idea and let the folder sit on my desk for a few days. In a week, she asked me how things were going. I told her they were okay, but I had not opened the folder. So I took the time that week to review the NCASA Challenge Cup, the point systems, the different activities, and emailed the director, Leon Pfeiffer. I came back to my principal with all the information I had uncovered, and we went to work. And work we did. We were able to fully compete in all but 2 events last year and all but 2 this year. Last year, we went from not knowing what place we were in the standings to texting each other when new standings came out from NCASA. It was exciting. She's been the biggest cheerleader for the students and coaches. She's made sure we had funding, building space, materials, and opportunity to work. She's made it clear to the staff and students what NCASA is important to our school. She's made sure that we will work hard to learn as much as we can from the competitions and learn our important role as good sports. Furthermore, she's found NCASA to be a benefit to our students where they can use their talents to be successful across many diverse areas. She's been the driving force behind our success in many different areas of the NCASA Challenge Cup. I would like to nominate her as NCASA Principal of the Year. This year, Haynes Middle School participated in as many competitions as any middle school in North Carolina and finished in 3rd place in the NCASA Challenge Cup. So I want to recognize Robin Willard as our NCASA Principal of the Year.
Do we have any staff from Haynes Middle School that came to support the principal? Please stand because I think it is a community award. Thank you. So next, we do have Daniel Bryant, who will recognize the FAPA scholarship recipients. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Woodbury, Dr. Symington, members of the board. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Daniel Bryant, and I'm an assistant principal at Jefferson Middle School and the president of the Forsyth Assistant Principals Association. And these fantastic ladies behind me are members of the board with me as well. Tonight, we are here to recognize our 2019 Scholarship Award recipients. Our scholarship is funded each year by a bowling tournament that brings together the community. We fundraise, we go out and ask for donations to support our students, and then we put on an event that brings our teachers, assistant principals, administrators together. This year's event raised more than it ever has before, and in response to that, we're able to give $300 scholarships to the students at almost all of our high schools this year. Very excited about that. I have to tell you, reading through the applications from these students is absolutely unbelievable. They've worked so hard. They've earned every A, every honor, gold keys, blue ribbons, honor rolls, conference and state championships, AP credits like you wouldn't believe. And tonight, we're able to recognize these scholars who are nearly adults, but who've been our kids. They've been our children. As assistant principals, we're also extremely proud to stand beside the custodians who tirelessly cleaned their classrooms, cafeteria workers who fixed their breakfasts and their lunches, support staff and maintenance workers for all that they did, bus drivers who put up with unbelievable craziness, and their teachers from kindergarten through high school who planned lessons just for them, tutored when it didn't click, celebrated their successes, picked them up after they fell, pushed them year after year to become the amazing version of themselves that you see before you today. We're so proud to have been part of this success. It's my pleasure, Chair Woodbury, Dr. Symington, members of the board, to present this year's scholarship recipients. Some of them couldn't be here tonight for their high school award ceremony, other reasons. But as I go through, if you would please come across the stage. Anaya McManus from Atkins High School. Anthony Hamilton from Carver High School. Marion Martin from Early College Forsyth. Madison Ivester from East Forsyth High School. Caleb Pledger from Glenn High School. Joshua Keels from Kennedy High School. Chloe Trin from Mount Tabor High School. Kalea Jackson from North Forsyth High School. Mark Allen Bertoni from Parkland. Patton Coda from Reagan High School. Brittany Kimbrough from Reynolds High School. Ronnie Pugh Jr. from Walkertown High School. Sarah Frisbee from West Forsyth. And Michaela Terry from Winston-Salem Prep. And if you're the parent or guardian of any of these students, if you would please stand to be recognized as well.
Next, we will have Angela Hubbard, who will present the 2018-19 scholarship recipients.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Dr. Symington, Madam Chair Woodbury, board members. It's certainly an honor to stand before you this evening to recognize some of our seniors for their academic accomplishments. To date, Forsyth County seniors have earned a total of $104 million in scholarships and counting. So students, as you hear your name, please come across the stage. Each year, junior PSAT scores are used as the measure to select the highest scoring participants in each state that represent less than 1% of the nation's high school seniors. There are, to be named as National Merit semifinalists. Of the 16,000 semifinalists, there are eventually 7,500 finalists who are named Merit Scholars and earn a $2,500 scholarship. The finalists in each state are judged to have the strongest combination of accomplishments, skills, and potential for success in rigorous college studies. This year, the following students were recognized as National Merit finalists: Sonny Lee from Reagan High School, Davis Cook, Reagan High School, Luke Stevens, Reynolds High School, Liam Sherman, Reynolds High School, and Davis Hunt, West Forsyth High School. And we celebrate the following students as National Merit Scholarship recipients: Siraj Upaya from Atkins High School, and Himani Bhatt from Reagan High School. If you are a parent, family member, school representative of any of these students, please stand. The Army ROTC Scholarship recipients John Spar of Mount Tabor and Kayla Davis of West Forsyth are celebrated for their commitment to academic and physical rigor. John's scholarship will cover full tuition and costs at Appalachian State University, and Kayla will use her scholarship to fully fund her undergraduate education at UNC Chapel Hill. Parents, guardians, family members, school reps of these students, please stand. John and Kayla. An appointment to this service academy is rigorous physically and solely based on merit. The Coast Guard Academy offers an elite education valued at over $280,000, fully funded, that includes a salary. Seeking to enroll students who are above average academically, dedicated to service, and who demonstrate physical fortitude, the Coast Guard Academy is selective in their admissions process. We recognize Rachel Whalen from Reynolds High School for this accomplishment. Any school reps from Reynolds, please stand. Two Forsyth County students from Atkins High School are recipients of the United States Navy ROTC Scholarship. Eric Augustine will use his scholarship to fund his education at Virginia Tech. And Neil Williamson will cover the expenses at Rochester Institute of Technology. Family members, school reps from Atkins, please stand. Devin Freeman from Atkins and John Williams from West Forsyth. They will become members of the Corps of West Point Military Academy in the fall. Their scholarships are valued at a total of over $400,000, and they have undergone rigorous physical assessments as well as academic testing to earn these appointments. Any family members or school reps, please stand. Since 1962, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education, in cooperation with the PTA Council, have awarded the Cash Ibrahim Scholarship to a student with unique aptitudes such as art, music, potential leadership, and scholarship. In memory of Mr. Thomas Cash, former superintendent of Forsyth County Schools, and Mr. Prince Ibrahim, former member of the Forsyth County Board of Education, this award was established to offset some of the expense of post-secondary education. We are pleased to recognize Alexia Mutkus of West Forsyth High School, who will receive a $1,000 scholarship. Parents, family members, school representatives at West Forsyth, please stand. The Catawba Trust Scholarship, awarded based on a combination of SAT or ACT scores and weighted academic grade point average, is a scholarship that is one of the top merit-based awards at Catawba University. The total value of this award is more than $80,000. Nathan Johnson of East Forsyth has been granted this accomplishment. Any parents, family members, or school reps from East Forsyth, please stand. Students who earn the Chancellor Scholarship at Appalachian State University have a background of superior academic ability, a record of leadership, service, and creativity, competitive SAT or ACT scores, and they are selected as recipients of this scholarship valued at over $100,000. This includes full tuition, summer travel, study abroad, participation in honors college programs, etc. Please congratulate Amelia Rhodes of Reynolds High School. Parents, family members, school reps from Reynolds, please stand. The Cheatham White Scholarship was established fall 2018 as a merit-based program at North Carolina A&T State University and North Carolina Central University to provide an outstanding educational experience for students who are exceptional scholars, versatile, and well-rounded individuals. Cheatham White Scholars represent students with a broad range of interests, proficient in areas of both the arts and sciences, who demonstrate leadership potential and a strong commitment to service. This scholarship is valued at over $75,000, and we are pleased to honor two students from Atkins High School, Kristen Hauser and Princess Jackson. Parents, family members, school reps from Atkins, please stand. The Leadership and Character Scholarship is a small selected cohort of outstanding students committed to developing their leadership and character during their undergraduate study at Wake Forest University. These students receive full scholarship to Wake Forest along with special opportunities for leadership and character development. This scholarship is valued at over $300,000. Please congratulate Olivia Blake of East Forsyth High School. Any parents, family members, or school reps from East Forsyth, please stand. This fall, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill will welcome 75 Morehead Cain Scholars from across the state of North Carolina, the United States, and the world. The first merit scholarship in the United States, Morehead Cain Scholarship, recognizes students who demonstrate exceptional leadership, moral force of character, academic achievement, and physical vigor. This scholarship will cover expenses for 4 years of undergraduate study at Chapel Hill and features a distinctive summer program of enrichment experiences. This scholarship is valued at $80,000. Please help us celebrate Sol Diane of Mount Tabor. and Alexander Reed of West Forsyth. Parents, family members, school representatives from Mount Tabor and West Forsyth, please stand. Stuart Wiley of Atkins High School is the recipient of the Stanford Fund Scholarship. Stuart will continue his studies at Stanford University, and as a result of participating in the Quest Bridge Scholarship platform, he has earned full tuition and expenses at Stanford University, valued at over $74,000. Parents, family members, and school reps from Atkins, please stand. The W.N. Reynolds Memorial Scholarship recipients of these awards are students with outstanding ability and/or need who show promise of constructive leadership. In considering candidates for the awards, they will be given in the following order: children of employees of R.J. Reynolds Student and Tobacco Aid Company, children of families residing in Forsyth County, and other candidates who are residents or natives of North Carolina. Congratulations to Alice Carroll of West Forsyth High School. Parents, family members, any school reps from West Forsyth, please stand. The Winston-Salem Memorial Scholarship is awarded in memory of members of the Board of Education or school employees or members of families of school employees who have served the school system. Initial funds were solicited in memory of Dr. William Shepard and Mr. Fred Hauser, and contributions are encouraged on a continuing basis. This scholarship is awarded to Antoine Washington of North Forsyth, and Madison Nichols of Reagan in the amount of $1,000. Parents and family members and school reps of these students, please stand. The Winston-Salem State University Chancellor Scholarship is one of the university's most prestigious merit-based awards that pays for all tuition and fees not covered by state or federal grant for funding. The scholarship also includes a book stipend and is awarded to students who meet rigorous academic standards. The scholarship is valued at over $67,000. Much success to Alicia Smith of East Forsyth. Any school reps, parents, family members from East Forsyth, please stand. These signature scholarships only represent a small portion of what our seniors have accomplished this school year. We wish them much success, and we are excited to hear about their future. Thank you.
Next, Kathy Fitzjeffries will recognize the 2018-19 It's My Call, It's Our Call Awards.
Good evening, Dr. Simonton, Chair Woodbury, and board members.
Good evening.
This evening, I have the honor of presenting various awards in recognition of our incredible students and schools. The first set of awards are for our It's Our Call, It's My Call program. This program is one that students make a commitment to be drug-free and submit to random drug screenings. So our first award is for the district It's My Call, It's Our Call highest enrollment. For middle school, that would be Kernersville Middle School with 70%. In addition to having the district's highest enrollment, they also have the Kernersville Cares for Kids highest enrollment at 70%, as well as the district's most improved, oops, that's not theirs. I was jumping. And here is their, that's for Kernersville Cares for Kids. Next, for the districts, It's My Call, It's Our Call highest enrollment for traditional high school is East Forsyth High School with 82%. As you see, they have their plaque. They also receive a trophy for the Kernersville Cares for Kids highest enrollment as well at 80%. Next, for districts, It's My Call, It's Our Call highest enrollment for non-traditional high school. It is Early College, who have trophy and plaque for 87.77% of their student body is enrolled in this program. And Early College also received the most improved enrollment of 16.77% gain from last year, and they have a plaque for that as well. Also, for our district's most improved enrollment for It's My Call, It's Our Call for traditional high school is Mount Tabor High School with an 8% gain from 57.99 to 56.03. Additionally, we want to recognize certificates, Early College and East Forsyth High School for membership of 70% or higher. And the following schools will receive certificates for membership between 50 and 69%. And if you have representatives here, please join us. Clemensville Middle School, Atkins High School, Kernersville Middle School, Middle College, Mount Tabor High School, Reagan High School, Reynolds High School, West Forsyth High School, and Walkertown High School. Let's give them all a round of applause. Oh, and did I miss Glenn? Glenn High School as well. Sorry about that, Glenn. next set of awards is for Kernersville Cares for Kids. Kernersville Cares for Kids is a student organization born from a school-community partnership between our school district, the Kernersville Police Department, and the Kernersville News. KCK focuses on developing student leaders that make a commitment to be drug-free. I don't believe they're here today, but I want to acknowledge them. Each year, there is the KCK Student Leadership Scholarship in honor of Doug Kiger and Dr. Don Martin. It's a $500 scholarship. The winners this year from Glenn High School, Ashley Grenados, and from East Forsyth High School, Patrick McCracken. Additionally, KCK gives an annual award, the Patty Joe Sawville Volunteer Award. And both these folks were not able to be here, but Doug Kiker, who is the former president of Kernersville Cares for Kids Board of Directors, was phenomenal for 10 years and actually stepped in because our current board president had appendicitis, and he stepped in to help us make the KCK luncheon a success. He's with his granddaughter tonight, so wasn't able to be here, so we wanted to make sure we acknowledged him. As well as acknowledging David Fitzpatrick. He's a former principal with our district and was the former vice president of KCK Board and gave a lot to our children and this organization. So we want to recognize them with a round of applause. And our final awards we're giving out is the 2018-2019 Spirit of Rachel District Awards. And these students were selected because of 5 qualities that are part of the Rachel Challenge. Those 5 qualities include looks for the best in others, dreams big, chooses positive influences, speaks words of kindness, and starts a chain reaction. And I would love to read their whole entry because each one of them was just phenomenal. And I'm so excited that we can celebrate them tonight. Our first person we're going to recognize is from our elementary school division, and it's Virginia Gigi Rice. Gigi is a 5th grader at Meadowlark Elementary School. She was nominated by Karen Browder, school counselor, who shared that Gigi starts a chain reaction of acceptance within her peer group. Gigi helps to bring groups of people together with affirming words and kind actions. Gigi is a moral compass in the classroom. Ms. Browder added that another quality Gigi possesses is empathy. Gigi is the first person to support someone in need. Gigi's parents are Tate and Anna Rice. And if you're here, would you please stand? From middle school, we have Kyla Lawson from Northwest Middle School. She's an 8th grader. Kyla was nominated by her school counselor, Amber Harrington. Ms. Harrington said that Kyla is the type of young lady that is not afraid to do the unpopular things. She is a positive peer influence for other students and does the right thing no matter what others think about her. The best thing she ever wears is her beautiful smile, which is absolutely contagious. She is always a part of the solution to making things better and never a part of the problem. Kayla's parents are Gary and Dania Jacobson. Would you please stand? And then our high school district winner is Dylan James. Dylan is a 12th grade student at Reagan High School. He was nominated by Joel Cordray, Director of Student Services at Reagan, who indicated that Dylan is an overall kind person to everyone. Through the Wake Forest Launch Program, he started a Play It Forward type community outreach program. He made small cards with positive message and placed them on students' vehicles in the school parking lot, encouraging students to uplift those in their community with small acts of kindness. Mr. Cordray emphasized Dylan is a tremendous asset to our school community. He is a positive leader and uplifts others. Dylan is the son of Aaron and Chanel James. Would you please stand? And we are awarding them with an engraved journal as well as a framed certificate for this accomplishment. Thank you so much.
At this time, we will hear public comments on the agenda items. Please know we reserve this time to hear comments only on the items that are on tonight's agenda, either for action or discussion. Direct your comments to me as the chair, and know that while we are not able to respond, I may direct you to a staff member that can answer a question when appropriate. We do ask that you be respectful, kind, and know we cannot talk about sensitive issues and/or private student personnel information in the public setting. While we hope it doesn't, should the comments become personal attacks, contentious, or otherwise disruptive, I reserve the right to end the comment period. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and if you have more to share, always know you can email us immediately. Thank you. First, we will have Taisha Burrow. And if, I think it's Laurie and Barbara Gratteau Carrington and Lori Burrows will come up to the front so that we can sort of keep things moving. So you can just come and sit towards the front so that you don't have to walk while we're waiting on you to. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay. Good evening. So today we, Peachtree Elementary got the release of our North Carolina Department of Education fact finding. And at this fact finding document that they presented, it showed that how Peachtree is failing our students, that we're not on grade level, we're not proficient on that grade level, and yet students are still being advanced to the next grade. After this, after my speaking, I will actually email this report to the committee and ask that you do look at it. And although our leadership may try to make necessary changes, they currently have been in this position for 3 years and are not being effective even though they are trying. The children are suffering up under this leadership, and I bring this question to the school board. How is it that a principal and a vice principal be chosen for a failing school that needs more experience and help than the average school, wind up with the least qualified because our principal and our vice principal have never had any experience in this field until they took on our school, which is also entitled a Title I school. So, you know, I hear you guys at the meetings talk about doing the hard job that needs to be done. I'm asking you guys if y'all can start with Peachtree Elementary. I also asked the school board, how do they continue to be able to stay in a position for 3 years? And our school, underneath their leadership, has deteriorated, and there has been no growth. As our principal, it seems like all our principal has to do is show up for work, and she has a job, no matter how horrible of a job that's being done. I also came up here and I said that the children were being abused. I have 5 teachers that are willing to write references for my daughter, who is a great model student who's in the 1st grade. On Friday, my daughter came home and reported that a staff member grabbed on her. I'm telling you that there is abuse going on in this building, and somebody needs to do something. Hard decisions need to be made, and it needs to start at Petrie. I'm pleading with y'all. I done came before this board 5, 6 times. We need help there, and we are not getting the necessary help. It's like Horton and her administration have people in upper positions that are keeping her in this position, because I just can't see how she's allowed to stay there underneath all of the evidence. It's an amount of evidence that is enormous. I ask that y'all do some fact finding and look at the reports that are out there. Department of Education came out there, they're a neutral party, and did this report. This report is huge. They failed horribly.
Thank you. Is it Lori?
So I'm Larry Gatto Carrington. I attend Paisley Middle School. I'm an 8th grader, up and coming 9th grader. I'll be attending there next year also. My mother, who's been attending the curriculum meetings, and she attended one last week, has encouraged me to give you all my opinion on curriculum in my classroom and for my fellow peers. So I've grown up in an environment surrounded by the cultural aspects of my own culture. I'm Haitian African American, and I've been groomed to know about racial profiling, segregation, and stereotyping in our communities and societies and how they've been made to be social norms. However, in the school environment, many of my peers are not informed about these things. We have units on things such as the Renaissance, discovering America's civil rights movements, of course, but we're not learned about some of the more positive aspects, such as how some of us were kings or queens, or how we made impacts that affected not only each other, but other cultures, how what we've created has evolved in our new technologies and society. In the classroom, I'm taught, of course, the pain and suffering. We're taught about slavery. We're taught about what's happening. We're taught about dystopian, and we're taught about what the future could hold. But what we're not talking about is what's happening in our society right now. We're not talking about what's happening with our peers, what's not happening with even what's happening in the news. And the future is nice to think about, but I'm sure as a research paper on these things would be more influential on how us as the next generation can help make more positive effects on making changes, because we are the next voters, the next decision makers, the next government holders. We are the next people making the decisions on how it's going to affect the generation that comes after us as well. And I feel that it's better for all of us to be more informed as well as adults, because while we are children, we are still like the next generation that's going to be making our impacts, and we still have like a voice in what we should be able to learn and be able to do in the classroom, just not learning about the same things that we've known since elementary school or middle school, even going into high school years.
So I had a chance to speak at the curriculum meeting, and basically I was asking them, what do we need to do to instate a curriculum for African American studies? And I was told that that information would be sent to the board. So I just encourage the board to not just put it on the wayside, but until next year, that this thing be thought out and that we make a great, positive decision for next year to put African American studies in the curriculum for next school year or the year thereafter. Thank you.
Laurie, I just wanted to let you know that you are a brave and intelligent young woman, and I appreciate you coming to share that with us. Laura Burrows, I think I may be mispronouncing your name because it's sort of hard to read the script right here.
Okay.
Laura Burrows.
Burrows, okay,
Yes, I'm
good.
a parent of two RJR graduates, and I'm here because I just wanted to say that I appreciate the Buildings and Grounds Committee that's discussing some level of public funding for the R.J. Reynolds Stadium. I want to just reflect that the home field advantage effort took hold about 7 years ago because we recognized the opportunity for this stadium to be a true public-private partnership. And I think we've worked well with the RJR administration and the district and the board, the staff, to look at, to take on our task of private fundraising. And the monies that we've raised so far have paid for a wonderful practice field along Renolda Road, along with all the stadium design plans and multiple required and not required studies, something that no other school has done. And certainly with those efforts came contention. There were neighbors and our neighbors who do not want this stadium, even though they live in what I think is a very vibrant school area, and the stadium will be built on school property alongside a very similarly sized athletic facility, Bryson Gym. There were questions about parking, traffic, and litter, all which were addressed, although not happily for some. And I mention these concerns because I want to be clear that a lot of people have worked for a very long time, very hard, and in cooperation with our whole community to look for a way that will create a stadium that fits within the context of this neighborhood. And I think it's going to have a very positive benefit. But truly, the true beneficiaries are the 1,800 RJR students and families who for every home game and almost every practice, whether it's lacrosse, soccer, football, field hockey, and our students are on the road. And that's students who are also in band, ROTC, cheer, dancing boots, and for every fan. And so what does it look like when you don't have an on-campus stadium? It's our students and our families scrambling to find transportation, or in many cases, not being able to attend games or simply choosing not to be on a team. It's our band practicing formations in a narrow sloped student parking lot. It's athletic trainers who can't be at every game or practice. It's hundreds of student drivers on the road when they should be walking across campus. It's vandalized facilities. It's students changing their clothes in their cars. It's referees and teams who arrive late because they thought the stadium was at RJR. It's more away games because out-of-conference teams don't want to play at our remote home facilities. It's fewer fans and it's less gate, creating financial struggles for our schools because we're simply shutting out students and families who just can't access our stadium. You won't find another high school built without an on-campus stadium because people understand the importance of accessible fields to ensure equal opportunities and safe environments for our students. And I really hope our district will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Hinton, Rhonda Mays, and Alan Daniel. If you will all come to the front.
Good evening.
Good
How y'all
evening.
doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. My name is Michael Hinton. I'm a 2015 graduate of the R.J. Reynolds High School. There I was a 3-sport athlete. I started playing football junior year and was also heavily active in basketball and track. Last week, I graduated from Columbia University in New York with a degree in political science. There I was a starter on the defensive line, an all-conference selection, and a team captain. I just recently committed to Tulane University in New Orleans, where I'll continue playing football and receive my MBA. I'm here before you today because R.J. Reynolds needs its own stadium. During my time at Reynolds, I played at Deaton Thompson Stadium, where every home game, we felt like we were the away team. We had no real home field advantage, and that had an effect on all of our games. We weren't used to playing on that field. We weren't comfortable moving around, like a team that plays the same games where they practice at. I was close with a lot of students who were in the student section, and a lot of them couldn't even afford to come to the home games because it was too far, or they lacked transportation. And thus, a lot of our games lacked a lively atmosphere. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that football is one of the greatest teachers in life. A lot of kids on my team didn't have that structure, that guidance outside of football, and it's very important to development as young adults. As a student athlete, I've learned skills of teamwork, time management, and performance under pressure. All these traits are valuable in the real world. Without a home stadium, many kids don't have the opportunity or lack the support system to compete. There are families that don't that don't get a chance to go out and see their kids play because it's too far. A lot of kids who want to play soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey can't even participate because they don't have a way to travel to practice. And more often than not, these kids are minorities. These students lose out on not only the experience, but the chance to earn an athletic scholarship, a chance to have their higher education paid for. Furthermore, money that is earned at the gate of football games is used not only in athletics, but also in school in general, such as books and equipment for arts programs. So decreased attendance at these games affect not only the school, not only the athletics, but the school as a whole. I hope you're taking the home stadium for RJ Reynolds into consideration. We've already taken the steps on our part. Now we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rhonda Mays.
Good evening, Chairwoman Woodbury, the board, and Dr. Symington.
Good
I am
evening.
Rhonda Mays, a school social worker in this district, and I serve as full-time release president of Forsyth County Association of Educators. I'm here tonight to talk to you for a little bit about the career and technical education application. As you experienced tonight with a number of the students who were receiving awards and recognitions, CTE is a very important area for our school district. ESSA, the Every Student Succeeds Act, stresses the importance of having opportunities for all students. And CTE recognizes that students have different strengths and different focus. And with us having those courses available in our schools for students, some students will be able to come straight out of high school and go into a career of their choice just in general, or they can also work in that career of choice while they pursue other educational opportunities. The CTE courses are so vital for all of our students. One of the things that I liked about the application is that you're also looking at pursuing some other careers that are higher paying, which is great, you know, for the students. So again, if a student wants to just go straight into their career, they can do that coming out of high school. Please support that application and make certain that all of our students have opportunities and that we continue to build on the strengths of our students here in this district. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Alan Daniel.
Good evening, Chair Woodbury, members of the board, and Dr. Symington.
Good evening.
Why are we spending 1 second talking about a stadium or land for Ashley? According to Darrell Walker, there is nothing wrong with the Ashley facility. Neither are on the 2016 bond. There is no money. And if there is, according to the board, teacher pay is priority one. Actions speak louder than words. We have not paid off the 2006 bond, much less even begun to pay off the 2016 bond. And you are talking in Building and Grounds Committee about spending more money that we don't have. Regarding the superintendent search, you're talking about hiring a director of equity or some such at about $80,000. We don't need another $80,000 person in the central office. You're getting ready to hire a superintendent. That superintendent should be the superintendent of equity in everything they touch. And they should teach everyone under them to be concerned about equity in everything they touch. We do not need more administrators. Speaking of the superintendent, one characteristic that was not mentioned much in the focus groups, but has widely been discussed on social media among educators, is the desire to have a superintendent who believes in discipline. It has been my experience and the experience of a vast number of teachers that we have not had that in at least 5 years. Our schools are in chaos. Students cannot achieve to their full potential in the midst of chaos. I have struggled to teach in chaos. I have watched students attempt to learn in chaos. Some overcome the chaos. Many do not. Excellence in education cannot happen in the absence of discipline. Recently, in a public meeting, you all amended the agenda after both opportunities for the public to speak had passed. You then took action on that amendment and closed schools on May 1st. It wasn't even on the agenda. I'll talk about that more later. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Beal, David Daggett, and Catherine Spanos. So first we'll have Nicole Beal. Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Symington, Board Chair Woodbury, and members of the board. I'm Nicole Beal, Director of Student Services at Reynolds High School, and I'm here in support of the Reynolds High School Stadium. It is my job to be an advocate for all students, which is why I'm here tonight. I get in trouble because I'm too honest, but quite honestly, advocating for all students should be all of our jobs. I have been a counselor for 17 years, and I've spent 11 of those years at Reynolds High School. I was an intern there. I started my public school career there. I left to start Reagan High School, and I came back because Reynolds has a way of calling you home. I love Reynolds. I love the diversity. When I think of why I love public education, I picture Reynolds. If Reynolds doesn't work, public education doesn't work. Despite all that I love about Reynolds, our students lack something that I believe all high school students deserve: a home stadium to play in, to cheer for each other in, and where they may feel and take pride amid the pines. In my nearly 20 years as a counselor, there have been a lot of changes, but one thing that hasn't changed is that the most successful kids in high school and the ones that have the most opportunities are often the most involved students. Most students don't show up at high school because they're excited about what they're going to learn in math or English or even to see their guidance counselor, but rather because of their peers and their interests outside of the classroom. It is simply the nature of being a teenager. Without a home field, I personally witness a huge discrepancy in who is involved, and I watch students slip through the cracks. Trying to figure out which one of our 5 practice fields is where they need to be for tryouts or practice is a barrier for many students. We lose them before they even get started, and we widen the achievement gap. We make things more difficult for students for whom things are already more difficult. We make it harder for them to get involved, take away their ability to find success outside the classroom, and keep them from coaches, band directors, ROTC instructors, mentors that will help keep them in school and help them find a future. It is about so much more than sports. It is about equity. It is about our students' future. It is about closing the gaps that exist, especially among the Reynolds population. I came home to Reynolds, and it is time to bring home our opportunity for our students and their futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Daggett.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Good evening.
Dr. Symington, board members. I wish I was as eloquent as your poet laureate, and you would probably wish that, like the quill champions, I would speak less and say more. But I want to share a little bit of my perspective. I believe I'm the only person in Forsyth County that's been in every single high school every single year for more than 25 years through our Safe Sober Prom Night program. And perhaps my perspective is a little different than others. And as much as I've interacted with students over the year, I've interacted with more than 500,000 students over those years. It wasn't until I became a volunteer assistant wrestling coach at Reynolds High School, which is a highly vaulted, unpaid position, but I'm at school most days with the kids, where you really feel and are part of the struggle that our most vulnerable kids are in. And I am with those kids, swapping sweat with them, as well as sharing stories and trying to help them. And I can guarantee you that in the wrestling room, we've saved a few. The truth is with athletic fields not on campus, the most vulnerable kids who could use sports simply don't have an equal opportunity to participate. In my experience with the kids I've been with, what they learn from sports is, first of all, I think research will show kids involved in sports get in less trouble. The vulnerable kids, if they don't have anything to do, they're more highly prone to get in trouble. Second is, vulnerable kids who are involved in sports do better academically. We get a sheet through the athletic director's office of our students' grades. We follow up with them. I personally go in the classroom and talk with the teachers and then help my kids so they do better in school. It helps them do better in school. And lastly, kids that don't have fathers at home or role models, the coaches are the ones that provide an example of leadership, guidance, and direction for our next generation. There's lots of competing interests that you have. I just want to share with you my insight and the effect that we have on the most vulnerable of our kids, and I want to do everything we can to help them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Catherine Spanos.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I'm Catherine Spanos, and I'm the president of Home Field Advantage. It's a group of parents that started many years ago that saw a need, and unfortunately, we've gotten a lot of folks that feel that we got into this because we wanted a trophy stadium, or it basically came because we saw our children driving all over the county. We wanted our children to be at home. We wanted the same experience when we went to an away field as our kids could feel in their home stadium. But I think there's been some misconceptions on it. When we went to the district 7 years ago, we asked, first of all, why do we not have our own stadium? And second of all, is it possibility that we could get a stadium on campus? And at that particular time, as timing is everything in a lot of things, the board had just been denied a bond by the county commissioners, and there was not a bond in sight. So our group went back and got our heads together and decided, okay, well, do we just sit back and wait, or do we try to make a difference on our own? So with good intentions, we set out to try to do something instead of just sitting by and waiting for something to happen. I am proud to say that our group raised over $1 million, which I'm extremely proud of, without having a timeline or even a possibility. I mean, at that time, we didn't even know that we would have the commitment from the board. So that is a huge amount of money, and I'm extremely proud of our alumni and our parents that got together, seeing a need and wanting to make a difference. But unfortunately, as with most public projects, public dollars come with it. And we've seen it with on-site facilities, that has been a commitment from the board and all the bonds. So we got a lot of pushback. First of all, okay, well, this is a public school. Why are you asking for private dollars? So we realized soon after that we have got to do a public-private partnership. And I humbly come before the board and ask that this is something that is truly needed. We've been working on this for 7 years. A lot of people that are in this group, their kids have come and gone. They're graduated, almost graduated from college now. But the need's not going to go away, and we're not going to stop. We want to see this board step up and do what they've done for all the other high schools, and let's bring the stadium home.
Thank you. Next, we have Jane Patterson and Katie Sonnen Lee.
Hi, I'm
Jane Patterson. I didn't prepare anything to say because I didn't think I'd have to go through this tonight, but my son was here for HOSA, being recognized for that. He's also a National Merit finalist, and I'm told he's only a semifinalist, even though National Merit informed us way back in February when they supposedly informed the high school and gave a certificate there that we've never received still. So he was not recognized at his ceremony at his school on Monday over a week ago. He wasn't recognized tonight. So I hope he can be recognized at his graduation, because it's just so unfair that someone that becomes a finalist when there were only 9 semifinalists in the whole district, and I don't know if all 9 of those became finalists. My son is a finalist, and nothing was said about it, and it just really is not fair. That's why I stuck around.
Thank you. Next, we have Katie Sonnen Lee.
She's handing out some handouts. Some of them I think you already have, but I wanted to make sure you had all of them. I know some of you attended Action for Equity's town hall last week. We really appreciate those of you that were there. It was a great night. And for those of you who weren't, I know some of you had some conflicts. You reached out to me. I just want to remind y'all that we remain committed to our agenda. I know there's a lot of noise and a lot of stuff going on in the district right now and in the country. But at Action for Equity, we remain committed to our policy agenda that we passed out to you all, that is focused on building a more effective and stronger community in Forsyth County. I'm not going to read it as I planned, because when I was sitting here tonight, I was really struck when you all were recognizing the scholarship recipients, that there were, I mean, I know not all of them were here, but there were maybe 10 or 15 kids on the stage, 75% white, maybe 80% white. Our district is 40% white. So clearly we're doing a good job for some kids. We are, clearly. We've got kids getting a full ride to Stanford, to Chapel Hill, West Point, etc. That's great. But there are a lot of kids who aren't being seen and aren't being served by the district. I also just did a quick tally on the schools that were recognized for these scholarship recipients came out of. Reynolds, West Forsyth, Atkins, Reagan, Mount Tabor, East Forsyth, and North Forsyth. The schools that weren't here, I want to recognize them, because those principals and those teachers and staff are still doing a great job with those kids. Carver, Glenn, JFK, Walkertown, Winston-Salem Prep, and Parkland. And I want to be really clear that Carver, JFK, Winston-Salem Prep, and Parkland were not recognized for having scholarships tonight. Those are schools that have over 85% kids of color. Some over 95% kids of color. And I think you, as a board, your job is to look kind of the 10,000-foot view and really think, like, what are we missing here? What's really going on? And I can say my son's school, he's in first grade. It's probably 80-85% kids of color. But when they come up and have competitions with the best kids in the class, they're usually white. At a school that, there are like 3 white kids in his whole class. Something's going on, and we've got to figure out what it is. And the last thing I wanted to say is just that I know lots of people in the district are talking about equity, including us, obviously. But if we all worked as hard on equity in the whole district as we work at for our own kids' schools, we could have the best district in the state, hands down. If all this energy was put towards changing the entire district and really transforming this district for all kids, I wouldn't need to be here anymore, and I'd love my Tuesday night then. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next order of business is discussion items, and our first discussion item is the 2019-20 Career and Technical Education application by Shirley Bynum.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair Woodbury, Dr. Simonton, and board members, we are here this evening to present an overview of our local application for career and technical education. The full plan can be found at this website, and the login and password is guest. Unfortunately, the site is down for maintenance for a week. It will open up Monday, June 3rd. But if you'd like a copy before then, we do have hard copies that we could get to Alex to get to you if you want to see it before June 3rd. What is the purpose of the application? We are required by Perkins Law to submit an annual application that describes how we're going to use the financial resources to meet the requirements for a career and technical education program. The law requires us to address 8 performance standards. We have to look at those standards and we have to come up with strategies to address the goals in each standard. Those standards are academic attainment, reading, language, art, academic attainment, mathematics, technical attainment, secondary school completion, student graduation rates, secondary placement, non-traditional participation, and non-traditional completion. Those are the 8 performance indicators that we have to write to. Some of the projected activities and priorities that we included in our 1920 plan are on the list that you see on the board. Career and technical education, we have student organizations. They're called career and technical student organizations. And we feel that these are very important to our CTE programs. And you had an opportunity to see some of our first place winners. But to let you know, there are many other students that also had an opportunity to compete. They did not meet the threshold for first place, so they couldn't be recognized tonight. But we do have many students that participate in the CTSO activities. The next thing, we look at credentials, certifications, and work-based learning. These opportunities are available in most of our CTE programs. And this year, our 17-18 data, we had over 2,442 industry-recognized credentials that our students earned 17-18. And when we get our data for 18-19, we're expecting to exceed that number because we have done a better job of getting that information summarized. So we continue, as a CTE department, we continue to look for credentialing opportunities that will provide a leg up as our students are becoming career and college ready. We're also very fortunate to have the support of our business community, which allows us to offer many work-based learning opportunities for students, from job shadowing in the middle school to paid internships in high schools. This year, we had over 600 middle school students participate in the state-sponsored Students at Work program. These students were able to spend at least a half a day out in the businesses, and they got a behind-the-scenes tour so they could actually see how things were run in the back of the business. So it's a very exciting time for our middle school students. Technical attainment and benchmarks. To address our technical attainment, we have implemented district-level benchmark for our low-performing courses. And this data is shared with our teachers, and during professional development days, POT meetings, our teachers have an opportunity to collaborate and share best teaching practices so that they can reteach those objectives that the students did not perform well in. So our goal is to expand that and include more CTE courses in the benchmark testing.
So before I go to my bullets, I want to mention one more thing about work-based learning. Some of you have been in a few of our advisory meetings and heard some of this, but we're proud that we finally have our first pre-apprentices in our own maintenance department, planning on hiring 3. I know one's been hired, and I understand the other 2 are in process of the paperwork. That's been a 2 or 3 year dream that we've had to get and start growing our own maintenance workers to service our schools. But beyond our own needs, there's needs out in the community where we have quite a few. Apprenticeships are becoming very hot item right now. And we have them in the automotive industry, we have them in the masonry trade, we have them in the carpentry trade. And so we are very blessed with a business community that supports our students and gives them those opportunities, because lots of businesses in previous years, my experience has been, it's easy to say we don't hire high school students. And that tide is beginning to turn. We're very, very happy to hear that. Now, on to my things. CTE concentrators. Most of our performance standards are based on our CTE concentrators. So just for those new on the board, an explanation of what is a CTE concentrator. That is a student who has completed 4 credits in a cluster, not just any old 4 courses, but they have to be in a cluster with one of those 4 courses being at the advanced level. Currently, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 850 to 900 concentrators a year. So that's a target that we continually try to increase. And with the cooperation of our counselors and our schools, that has steadily grown, not as fast as we'd like to see, but it is on the upward trend. Just to give you an idea why that designation is important, in our performance standard on students who go to post-secondary, 98.2% of CTE concentrators continue to post-secondary education after high school. People still think of vocational ed. It's not that. It's career and technical education. And every career now requires some sort of post-secondary education. We have a few students who can walk out the door and go to work, but that number is very small compared to the entire program. Very proud of that 98%. The other thing is, Herb mentioned earlier about keeping kids in school. Our CTE concentrators, we have a performance standard on graduation rate for concentrators. That was 100% last year. So 100% of our concentrators were walking across the stage at the end of the year last year, which is another one that's going to be tough to repeat, but we're very proud of that, and we've been working towards that goal for quite a while. That helps the overall graduation rate in the district, which is one of our goals. In the bond projects, I neglected to pick up the exact number, but as I went through all the bond projects that are in this current bond round, we have over 40 new CTE classrooms that are going to be either renovated or brand new built in the new bonds. So part of our planning looking forward is how to make sure that each and every one of those classrooms is outfitted like it needs to be for the various programs. So that'll be an ongoing challenge as we go through the next several years of bond construction. And then expansion of our academies, another area in CTE that is a really hot item right now. And we're very proud of our 16 career academies that we currently have. All kinds of different themes, from biotechnology to health science, engineering, finance, hospitality and tourism. Our public service, which we're just expanding next year to Glenn from Walkertown, in firefighting and EMT. All very important programs, and the needs in the community are great for those. All of those, by the way, are designated high-wage, high-need occupations. So we're hoping that our students will take advantage of the many academy programs, and we look forward to expanding those programs as schools step up and say, yes, we're wanting to do something in that arena, and we'll work with those schools to make that happen. What supports all of this? We have 3 sources of funds. Months of employment, PRC 13. These are months of employment that are used to pay our teachers. So unlike the academic teachers that are paid through an ADM source, CTE has categorical funds to pay our teachers. And we have 2,355 months for next year, which is a slight decrease from this year. But just to put it in perspective, a teacher uses 10 months of employment to pay for them for a full-time teaching position. So you can see there we can support about 235 or so teachers. Our state program support funds, we refer to these as our state funds, $715,000 and change. And our federal funds, PRC 017, that should be, is a little over $800,000. The $800,000 is not the official number for next year. That is this year's allotment, and we don't ever get federal allotments until later on, so we'll know that in time to set our budgets for next year. But those are our three sources of funds that we use to support all of our programs. And that concludes our talking points. If there's any questions that you might have, we'd be happy to try to answer those.
Board members, are there any questions or comments?
Just can you comment on, when you talk to people in the business community, what is an up-and-coming need or an area that we might want to focus on and look to starting here? Can you pick one?
New start.
Well, it actually depends on who we talk to. When we're at construction, we hear that they're needing construction workers. When we're meeting with our firefighters, they're demanding firefighters. But the one thing that we would love to do that we don't have the physical space right now is manufacturing. That is one that we don't have, and we hear the need for machinists, and we just don't have the space to set it up. But we're looking for any opportunity to get that going as, the next thing.
Yeah, we're staying tuned into that, more or less being led by Progress Rail, which is the new Caterpillar enterprise here. We've got a great partner there. They help us with Robot Run and several other things. And they are starting an apprenticeship program for advanced manufacturing and machine repair, because they need, I forget now what Ken told us, the number of machinists over the next 3 or 4 years as they fully implement their program. And so advanced manufacturing would be one that we'd love to start. We don't currently have, but we can serve some students through an apprenticeship model with working with Forsyth Tech and the business community to put them out to work. So it's not the same as having your own program, but it's a start. Yes, ma'am.
Construction's at a high right now, as you mentioned, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I wondered if you were going to add any new additional programs, to the construction trade, such as carpentry. I know there are a lot of needs for electricians and just a lot of needs right now. Being in construction, we're having a really, really hard time being able to fill those jobs, and there are really good jobs that are out there. Also, I wondered about moving into the plants. I know Honda Jet getting into the airplane type production products and things like that. And I don't know if we've done any of that with our students, but I do see needs in those areas. So hopefully we can start filling those areas up.
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, we were on a 3-year journey to get our electrical program revived at the Career Center. We have a real gem of a teacher now. He had just one set of classes this year. He doubled that enrollment for next year, so things are looking up big time in electrical. We're real proud of that program. Our carpentry program is real strong at the Career Center as well. You mentioned Honda manufacturing. That is the advanced manufacturing that we're talking about. Those types of occupations, we don't currently have a space. That is a limitation for us in many of these. We're really coming to the place where we're asking a principal, you have to decide what you're willing to give up to add something new. And that's an unfortunate position, but maybe it's time to look at some of our older programs that aren't those high wage, high need, and phase some of those out in favor of something that is in the high need, high wage category.
Which I think there are a lot in this area, and I think there are a lot coming also. And when I look at Deer Hitachi and some of these other plant, areas that are needing people to come in. I think the door's wide open for us right now. So I'd just like to see us be able to open up so that our students can have more jobs and make more money. Thanks.
Any more questions or comments? Thank you. Our next discussion item is the Building and Grounds Committee report by Board Member Leah Crowley.
Thank you, Chairman Woodbury. Buildings and Grounds met today at 4 p.m. We started with the Child Nutrition Annual Report given by Lauren Richards. And Ms. Richards is to be commended for her efforts to broaden menu options and just general education about nutrition to our staff and students. So thank you for that, Lauren. We also discussed and approved contracts for food service renewal and the summer addendum. We had Daryl Walker and Cola Moore give us updates on future projects, and these include Ashley Academy. The board recently received information on an appraisal on property being considered for a new Ashley, so we feel like that's a big step forward to securing a new future for that school. We also had an update on Brunson. There are 6 sites that are being considered, and central office staff will meet with the Brunson staff to give them an update on that, and just to reassure them that we are still on the timeline for them to get their new school as planned. For the R.J. Reynolds High School Stadium, costs were discussed on what standard stadiums go for and adjusted for inflation. They were looking at what it costs to build stadiums at Reagan, Atkins, Walkertown as the comparables, and also looked at what it would cost to build a standard stadium on Reynolds campus. And that was estimated at about $5 million. $1.5 million of that was determined to be in site work. We also discussed expenses that the nonprofit group R.J. Reynolds Homefield Advantage has incurred, and they total about $430,000 that they have collected privately and put into the public school facilities there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions regarding the Buildings and Grounds Committee report? Okay, the next discussion item is the Policy Committee report by Board Member Lyda Calvert-Hayes.
We met this afternoon also, and we talked about Policy 9000. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, what is Policy 9000? Because I do the same thing when it gets thrown at me. What Policy 9000 is about, it concerns our board members, it concerns bylaws, it concerns the offices of our boards, the duty, and what we do as board members, how we're elected, the duties of our chair, of our co-chair, and we went over those, which was in our Policy 9000. We didn't get a chance to get to our next policy that we were going to talk about, which will be interesting, so plan on coming in 2 weeks to hear about this. This is Policy AR 4151.7, and that is going to be regarding weather. And you think, oh my gosh, it's 95 degrees out there right now. What do we want to do to be talking about snow and delays and all like that? But believe you me, it'll be here before you know it. So if you get a chance and you got any ideas on this, let us know. We're interested. So hope to see you in 2 weeks, and we'll be talking about the weather. Thanks.
Thank you. The next discussion item, if there are no questions or comments for the Policy Committee report, is the Curriculum Committee report by Vice Chairwoman Barbara Burke.
Good evening. The Curriculum Committee met on May 21st. There were 3 discussion items. The first discussion item on the agenda was a TNTP Forest Park update. Dr. Roseborough, our instructional superintendent, introduced Neil McDonald, an ELL academics effectiveness coach with TNTP. Mr. McDonald has been working with Forest Park students and teachers. He shared Forest Park's diagnostic findings for ELLs, and he also noted recommendations that are currently being implemented. Principal Watkins and Forest Park teachers expressed positive, effective anecdotes of TNTP's lesson modeling with students. Next, Dr. Marty Ward, Chief Program Officer for Research and Evaluation, presented the data sharing agreement with Forsyth Promise, which provides agencies and schools in Forsyth County with access to a secure and integrated data system, evaluation services, and data and research support. And last, Dr. Cato, our instructional superintendent, introduced Lakeisha Hill, coordinator of the FACE program, which stands for Faith, Accountability, Community, and Education. Ms. Hill introduced SOAR. SOAR stands for Scholars Obtaining Academic Recovery. SOAR is a program designed to start the graduation clock a year earlier for overage middle school students. According to Ms. Hill, the SOAR program will help with the achievement gap through remediation in academics, social or emotional problems, provide more time to meet grade level competencies, provide equity, access, and acceleration, provide hope, opportunity, and personalized learning, and increase the graduation rate. Before the agenda presentation and after, I read a statement in response to a curriculum matter that has been brought to this board as well as the previous board for the last 3 years. The statement that I read is as follows. After recent discussion, the board agrees. Academic success and positive outcomes for all students is extremely important to this committee and board. As we focus on achievement gaps and the best for all students, we have been reviewing options. Many of you are aware that one of those options is that we have asked for an update on a required African American history course. As an update on this status, I am announcing that we will include the consideration of a required African American history course as part of our new high school course offerings process. New courses come to the Curriculum Committee for consideration in the October meeting. At our September Curriculum Committee meeting, we will review background information about African American history, models of current implementation, and related issues. We appreciate the community's high level of interest in this topic and the interest in successful outcomes for all students. That concludes the minutes for curriculum.
Thank you. There are no questions or comments. Our next order of business is action items, and we have several action items. And the first action item is to consider approval of the 2019-20 Career and Technical Education application. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to consider renewal of the 2019-20 food service management contract.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to consider approval of the food service agreement addendum for summer meals.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Before I move to the next item, Alex, could you tell me how to pronounce the last name, Dana Finn? Say it again.
Finvis.
Finvis, okay, thank you. Is there a motion to consider approval of Dana Finvis consultant contract? No motion? Okay. We're gonna go to the,
Are there additional questions or information that the board would like before considering this contract?
I do have a question. Why do we utilize a consultant for this service, which is the North Carolina state test requirements, if North Carolina law designates the school district superintendent and his or her designee, which normally is the principal and school staff, to oversee the implementation of the North Carolina state test requirements, and for $57,000.
Okay. Dr. Simonton, okay.
Yes. So for the last several years, Dana has assisted the Department of Accountability with a variety of activities, including supporting the testing program as well as providing support for data analysis. She also supports programs in the instructional services area, AG testing, as well as formerly ESL programs. She also provides support in analyzing data for cohort graduation rate. So over this last several years in the Department of Accountability, we've seen an increase in testing as it relates to NC check-ins, and without any increases in that department. So for, I want to say, the last 4 years, Dana has been contracted to do that work.
Shouldn't that contract come out of our normal contract process in central office, be a full-time process?
Can you say more what you mean by that?
This shouldn't just be a full-time position, a contract within our own department.
So certainly the position could be a position. Dana has done the contracted work, and the district has supported that, and previously the board has supported that.
Is this more of a technical kind of work?
It is technical. Dana does have she has a lot of skills in a lot of areas related to testing and data analysis.
But we need increases in our cyber department anyway, so why can't we overlap the position?
So it's not a technology position, it's in accountability. So she's just working with primarily accountability, instructional services, and student services.
I'm interested in, is how long does this position last? What are we looking at month-wise for $57,000?
So in the contract before you, the number of hours are stated and the rate of pay is given. So it lasts across the academic year.
So we're saying 9 months, 10 months? Is that what we're saying?
12 months.
Oh, so she works the summer too? Okay.
It looks like she works from another state, and she comes in as needed, or it's a she.
So she is a contracted employee, so she does not, quote unquote, come in. There are times when she comes in to meet with Andy Kraft, who is our chief accountability officer.
And I thought, it was my understanding that it was going to phase out. Am I right or wrong?
So I'm not aware of it being phased out. So we continue to have that need, and so we continue to make that request.
I think Andy Kraft would like to say something, but as he comes up, I will tell you that most of my time in education has been working with principals to implement testing, and I've just never heard of a consultant to help implement the North Carolina testing requirements. This is a first, so I applaud Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools for that. I haven't been through a lot of firsts in education if you've been in it for 20 years. So this consultant, I'm just concerned that in other school districts, the principal and staff and support from the district, we all come together to implement testing without the need of a consultant.
Andy, please paint the history.
Sure. So Dana started working with our department 3 years ago. Over the past 3 years, the testing requirements from the state have increased by about 300%, and that's particularly in the area of these NC check-ins. North Carolina check-ins are administered at the end of first, second, and third quarter. So we administer now the EOGs really 4 times a year. That's the number of students that we administer the test to. That requires us to process test books through our warehouse downstairs, which requires packing lists, pre-coding of answer sheets, processing of data. There's also support that's provided to instructional services in terms of AG, ESL. And the only thing we've added to our department in the past 3 years is this contract, right? So we're saving the district a lot of money. I don't know how many people it would take. And compared to the other large urbans, our accountability department is significantly smaller. So with this, again, triple in terms of the amount of processing of data and testing that we're doing, this has been the only contract. And so, obviously there's no benefits with a contracted employee or anything else. So, for our department to take on 3 times as much work, the only thing we've asked to add is this contract. And every year prior to this, the board has decided to approve it.
Well, and one of the values that she brings is that she was here,
That's right.
and she has history of all of this.
There's no question. She's one of the leading experts in testing accountability in the state of North Carolina, without question.
What was her role when she was here?
She's the prior accountability director here for the district.
Who assisted her at that time?
So at that time, there is a testing assistant, Steve Pierce, a warehouse manager, Shelba Jeter, Franlina Charles is also a data processing and analyst.
So do you have the same resources that she had when she was in your role?
Do I have the same resource? Well, we have significantly more responsibility than when she was in the role, right? Because again, we're administering the equivalent of the EOGs 4 times a year. So that did not happen when she was in the role.
So if this really is necessary, then we should be hiring a position within our school system itself.
So we
we
could
have an
consider
expert.
that, and I would defer to HR and others, but that would probably almost certainly be more expensive than what we're spending on this contract.
I don't think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't think we need to hire a position. I think that the superintendent needs to work with the principals and their staff to implement North Carolina testing with the support of your office. That's the way it's done in general. I know that North Carolina has required more testing to be done, but I think that if we plan more effectively to help our schools, then we can get the testing requirements done with little interruption. And I know the testing requirements for the state can be overwhelming. I know, because I've sat at schools until 11 p.m. or midnight trying to make sure that we got all of our testing stuffs prepared, and then after we tested, everything is counted and ready. So I get all of the manpower that's needed, but I really think, and I would recommend to the board, that we consider looking at, with the superintendent, how can we do this in-house without a $57,000 contract? And so if that way, I would be more apt to either supporting it or not if I sort of had an idea of what we could reconsider, because I've just never honestly heard of a consultant to implement North Carolina testing requirements.
Sure. So we have a robust infrastructure to implement the North Carolina testing requirements, right? But there are data requests that come from you all, that come from instructional services, that come from the community. And so it's not unheard of in other districts to consult with outside agencies to bring, say, data dashboards to the table, right? And that's one thing that's been the product of this contract. There are lots of outside agencies that analyze data for districts and report that data in lots of different ways. And frankly, that's what she's doing for us. So it's not just a matter of processing the test books and the answer sheets. We do have the infrastructure to do that.
So, Madam Chair, I would add to that, certainly the testing piece is a part of it. I think what Dana brings to the table is more so on the analysis side. Having been an accountability director in several large urbans, she's able to supplement what the accountability department does. But we can certainly do as the board directs in terms of looking if it's your pleasure to bring that position in-house.
Is it so we can put this on hold so we can at least discuss this and find out more information pertaining to this?
So for us, but for the budget process, I would defer to someone else in terms of the timeline there for approving contracts for next year.
We can certainly have board discussion if that's your pleasure.
That's my question. Thank you.
If you wanted to table it, someone could just make a motion to table it, and we can provide additional information.
I'd like to make a motion to table until further discussion.
Second.
Any discussion or question about the motion to table this item? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is to consider approval of the lease agreement for Bridges Church at Old Town Elementary School. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to consider approval of the lease agreement for G3 United Methodist Church at Meadowlark Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to consider approval of the lease agreement for Tapestry Church at South Fork Elementary School.
Motion to approve.
Any question or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item is to consider approval of budget amendment number 7 and transfer number 7.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion or question? All in favor? Any opposed?
Abstain?
Okay. Motion carries. Our next business, order of business is the consent agenda items, and we have the approval of the meeting minutes for May 14th, 2019, and approval of the general personnel report. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on the consent agenda items? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we begin the section of our meeting in which anyone can comment on anything, we say good night to our Cable 2 viewers and thank you for watching. This will
Thank you for joining us on your school channel, Cable 2.